Hello, and welcome back to another Tracker video, where today I am going to show you how to import any real-life volcanoes into Kerbal Space Program. So first, you'll want to go on a website called Tangram Height Mapper, and it's a website that just shows the entire world in a grayscale height map. So you're going to want to zoom in on the volcano first. Now there is a bug which you can see here, which sometimes happens where it goes white. Now it's a bit inconsistent, so here you can see it's completely white. Now, it works for me. I'm not sure if it works for other people, but when you zoom in, the number at the top goes higher. So I zoom in till the number reaches 30 and then I refresh. But as you can see, it's not very consistent because, let's see if I zoom in on this one. So yeah, it's staying white now. So I keep zooming until the number reaches 30 on the link. So there, now I refresh and it stays white, and then I zoom out a bit and you can see it then loads in. And that's how I try and fix that's how I fix it if it goes white when I'm trying to zoom in on a volcano. It might not work for you though, because it seems very inconsistent. Anyway, so the volcano I want to put in is the Santa Ana volcano, which has the Izalco cone next to it. Apologies if I am butchering the pronunciation of anything. So I'm going to zoom in on the Santa Ana volcano, which is somewhere in this volcanic arc. Here we go. And I think about here is good. I won't, or shall I include the caldera? Let's see, let's measure. Yeah, I can include the caldera. So I'm gonna zoom in till around here, maybe there, and I'm going to use snipping tool. You don't have to use snipping tool, but anything that will take a screenshot of it. And I'm going to do this and take a screenshot of Santa Ana. Might as well get the one there as well. There we go. Now I'm going to go into paint, and I'm just going to crop the picture so that it's a perfect square. There we go. And this is our height map we're going to use. So I'm going to save it as a PNG picture. Santa Ana. Save. Now the next thing you'll want to do is go into your Kerbal Space Program game data folder, and you're going to want to make sure you have Kerbal constructs and custom pre-launch checks installed. If you don't have those installed, this will not work. Additionally, I have Vessel Mover installed because that makes it easier. So now you're in the game data folder, you're going to want to make a new folder and name that folder whatever you want. So I'm going to name it Volcanoes. And inside that folder you're going to want to make another new folder, and that needs to be named Map decal maps, no spaces, with a capital M, a capital D, and a capital M. And inside that folder, you will drag your height map that you just made into it. Next, you want to make a config file. So you make a new text document, and then I'm gonna name it Santa Ana. Whatever volcano you're doing or terrain feature, it doesn't have to be a volcano. Then you have to change the file extension to .cfg. You're gonna get a warning, which you accept. Now I've got a .cfg folder, the config file. I'm gonna want to go back to the Kerbal Constructs folder and go into its map decal maps, and I'm going to want to double click on any one of these configs, and I'm going to Control C and copy the config basically. And I'm going to go back to the config I made, santaana.cfg, and I'm going to Control V. Right, so this top one is the name. That's how it's going to display in the game. So I'm going to name this Santa Ana. The image, that's the name of the image you have. So mine is Santa Ana, no spaces. So you're going to want to have it spelt exactly the same as the picture. And it's case sensitive as well. And then you'll want user's high map set to true. I don't know why there's missing T, but I'd imagine it will not work if you added a T. But user's high map needs to be set to true. And now the config is done. So we just press Ctrl S to save, and we load the game. Now your game has loaded up. You're going to want to start the game and load a save. Don't ask about the name of this save game that I'm loading. May or may not be a hint to some crazy things I was doing with these map decals. Anyway, you're going to want to spawn in a craft. Any craft will do, doesn't matter. So we're going to load in on the runway. And you're going to want to press Ctrl K to open the Kerbal Constructs menu. And you're going to want to press Edit Map Decals. You're going to press Spawn New Decal, and I'm going to move it far away because this is going to be a big decal. So around here. Now I'm going to name it Santa Ana after the volcano, and I'm going to set the height map to Santa Ana. Now we can have smooth height off. I prefer it off because then you get more accurate representation of the volcano. But the downside with having it off is you will have steep cliffs at the edges of your map decal. Alternatively, if you have smooth height on, it will smooth out the edges relative to the terrain and have it blend in, but the volcano will not be as accurately represented. So The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press that so I can do that fast. And I'm going to want to set the radius up to maybe 10,000 meters, as volcanoes are big. And I'm going to set the deformity to maybe 2,000. And now I'll press apply and save. And now we have a volcano. Now let me measure the real map a minute. Make sure that... So the height map I made is about that wide. So I think my radius would need to be a bit larger. Maybe a bit more deformity. Nearly took over the space center. In fact, here we go. I'll show what happens with smooth height. So this is with smooth height off. And you can see there's very steep cliffs and quite a lot of jagged spikes at the edge of the map decal. Now, I prefer it this way because you get a more accurate representation of the volcano. But if you don't like these cliffs, you can turn on smooth height to around 0.2 will do, and that will just smooth it out relative to the terrain. As you can see, it doesn't make much of a difference, but I would rather the volcano be more accurately represented, so I leave it off, and I just adjust it so that the cliffs are not too obnoxious to look at. I also don't really want the area to be flooded either, so have to get it just right. So now I'm going to use vessel mover, and I'm going to move the plane over to the volcano and just have a look at it and just see how accurately done it is. So looking at Izalco here, it might be slightly too steep, but you can see it's a good representation of it. Now, I like my volcanoes to be to scale to real life, so I'm going to spawn a new group as I'm going to need to place a runway. Santa Ana. And I'm going to measure the distance between the top of Izalco and the top of Santa Ana. So I'm going to measure from here, the crater rim, to the crater rim of Izalco, which is about 3.5 kilometers, which is... and it's going to need a runway scaled up to 1.42. So we're going to spawn in a 2,500 meter long runway, and I'm going to scale it up to 1.42. So we want the distance between the crater rim of Izalco and the crater rim of Santa Ana to be the same as the distance between the white line at each end of the runway. So I'm going to move the runway so that the line lines up with the crater rim on Izalco here, which is about there. I'm going to move it up, and I can already see that I've made it too big, so I'm going to go into edit map decals, click on Santa Ana. Sometimes it doesn't work, so you have to click on another map decal and then click on this one. I'm going to turn on vessel mover so I can so I won't explode, and I'm going to shrink it slightly. And I'm going to lower the deformity a bit because I don't want it being too steep. So I'm going to place the plane down again now, and I'm going to move the runway and see if I've got the scale right. So the crater rim on Izalco is around there now. Now I'm going to move the runway up. And I would say that's pretty close to being true to real life scale. So I'm going to delete the runway now and press save. Now, we've got a pretty accurate representation of the Santa Ana volcano now, but you may notice the real one has a crater lake, and the caldera over here also has a lake. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place water statics. So I like to use the water surface round as that tends to fit better. And I'm just going to place it at the bottom of the crater so that there's water and a crater lake. So I would say about there. Now I'm going to adjust it. So about there looks about right. And I'm going to press PU to point it upwards. And then I'm going to enable colliders. And then I'm going to duplicate as I want another one to go in the caldera over here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. And scale it up. Just adjust the height of the water till it's about right. It's quite a narrow channel between these lava domes. Oh yeah, point it upwards. About there. A bit further down. Don't know what's going on with this. About there looks about right. And then I'm going to enable colliders, save and close. And there we go. We have successfully placed a volcano from real life into Kerbal Space Program. Remember, if you didn't enjoy this video, to dislike and unsubscribe, and maybe you won't watch the next video.